So today is a big day. It is the day where I award the most prestigious award in all of the bike industry, the most supple bike of the year award. And how do you know it's prestigious? Well, our award badge has not just one laurel, but two sets of laurels. It's not like they just give those things away for free on the internet, people. We've got laurels. So I thought I would do it a little bit different from last year. There's going to be the overall category for the most supple bike of the year award, as well as a budget category. And I am defining budget as $1,000 and below. And I'm also gonna name a couple of honorable mentions that didn't quite make the top three, but were notable for whatever reason. So enough jibber jabber, let's go on to the awards. So the first honorable mention is going to go to the Northern Lion. I think technically, in terms of frame material, it is definitely the most supple bike of the year. I've never hopped on a bike that was just so flexy in a fun way. So the reason why this didn't make the top three is that it's really probably not everyone's cup of tea. It's more of an acquired taste. You're gonna have to really love the low trail geometry because this bike is super low trail, but they are really well made. They have a pretty strict weight limit, of which I was on the upper end of. So the bike to me felt really springy, maybe a touch more springy than I would like. But if you're a lighter weight rider and want to, throw a leg over a bike that's pretty special, the Northern Lion is one to check out. They're made by long-term frame builder Jeff Lyon, and they're kind of sold through the shop Northern Cycles in Portland. Honorable mention number two is the Bear Claw Bo Jackson. So this is the bike I rode on the Ochiko Overlander, essentially sight unseen, and committed to it for 4 days on this bikepacking trip in the Ochiko Mountains. It's a titanium frame, carbon fork, and it runs on plus size tires. And what's just bonkers about this bike is that even though it does have big, fat, meaty tires, the weight on our scales was around 22 pounds. So you get a lot of bike that's capable of some really tough terrain, and it doesn't weigh a ton. And the reason for me why it didn't creep into the top three, even though I loved riding it at the end of the Ochiko Overlander, is that for me it felt like a little bit more of a specialized bike. There was a lot of bike there. It doesn't quite fit that bill of a true everyday all-rounder, although I guess depending on where you ride it could. But a great tool if you've got a really rugged gravel ride plan or a bike packing trip where it's not super technical single track but pretty rough Jeep roads. That would be a fun bike to take. So moving on to number three is the Bombtrack Hook Adventure. So this is a bike that I did not think I would like whatsoever. It had a dropper post, it had short travel front suspension, two things I usually get grumpy about when it's on a gravel bike. But on that bike, it was actually super fun, and it makes perfect sense for a lot of the terrain up here in Montana. It had a quick and lively rear end, which makes for a fun climbing bike for me. And that short travel suspension fork did make it a little bit more capable and reliable and less just painful, I guess, on some of the single track and even the double track that we have here in Montana. Again, it was not without its downsides. It was a little bit on the weightier side. And in my review, definitely probably wouldn't be my only bike, my first or second, probably my third or my fourth bike. So not quite fitting that mark of being a all-rounder. So runner-up number two goes to a bike that I think has flown under the radar of a lot of people, and that is the Norco Search. So what I liked most about the Norco Search was actually the steel frame. It felt nice and compliant for a production bike. The handling of the bike was very reminiscent of the Salsa Warbird, which you guys know that we love. I do wish that they had a nicer steel fork option. The carbon fork, as light as it is, can be a little bit stiff. Would like to see an alloy version that could take something like a mini front rack. But a fun bike nonetheless. I think one that's kind of flown under everybody's radar, but if you see one at a local shop, definitely worth a shot. And lastly, the most prestigious award in all of the bike industry. If you guys follow us on Instagram, this is probably no surprise to you, and it is the Crust Bambora. So the Crust Bambora, if I were to describe it in as few words as I could, I would say it's got a road-like rear end and a mountain bike front end. So relatively quick and spicy in the rear, which to me makes for a good climbing bike, but pretty slack and chill in the front, especially in my size small, and that makes it a really stable descender for me. The frame itself also had just that little bit more compliance than you would get out of a Surly bike. Definitely felt a little bit more springy to me. I also really like the color. I know that's up for debate. It is kind of a Pepto pink millennial pink color, not for everyone, but if you can get over that, or if you like that, then it's actually a beautiful bike aesthetically. But I think the thing that sealed the deal for me is that it has lots of mounting points. So yes, it's a quick and supple frame, but it's also very useful. It's got a full range of mounting points in the back. You can run low front riders. You can also run a little rando rack, go basket packing, all this good stuff. So a fun and playful bike, but also a very useful bike. And that is why it is 2019's most supple bike of the year. So yay, Matt, good job.
Give me your money.
And as you guys know, I liked it so much, I ended up buying it. I was trying to buy Matt's review copy, but he needed it for an event. But fortunately, I got tipped off to a unbuilt frame in Portland, which Golden Pliers built up and sent to me. So yes, folks, I liked enough to buy it pretty much at full retail. So moving on to the budget category, I know a lot of you guys give me grief about, why do you review such expensive bikes? Why don't you go do more budget bikes? And you know, my stock answer to that is that lots of bikes below a certain price point just aren't very interesting to me. And if I'm putting this much time and energy and brands aren't paying me to do these reviews, it's gotta at least be fun to me. And budget and fun to me tend to not overlap very much, except in this bike, and it is the Marin Nicasio Plus. So I believe this bike retails for around $700 to $800, and it's actually a pretty fun bike. First off, it's got a really fun, lively and playful geometry, something that you don't see in lots of budget bikes. It's also OEM 650B out of the box. None of this 650B compatible, you have to buy a separate wheel set. Nope, it's got WTB Horizon stock on the bike. Another thing I love about it is the gearing. It's reasonably geared for kind of a budget and heavy bike. In the rear, it's got a really interesting 9-speed 11 to 46 tooth Sunrace cassette, which I think you can't buy aftermarket yet. It only comes on this bike. And I know some people are gonna say, oh, the jumps, too big, the jumps. But look, it's a heavy bike. It's probably targeted towards the beginner cyclist. So I think in this instance, you know, I'm willing to forgive 11 to 46 in 9 steps. I didn't think it was so bad. I ultimately adjusted. I'm not super sensitive to gear jumps like that. I mean, you guys gotta remember, we toured on Bromptons, which only has 6 gears. So 9 just feels like a whole buffet full of gears. But again, you know, the bike is not without its flaws. You know, you can't expect heaven on earth for that price. So although it does come with nice supple tires out of the box and great gearing and lots of utility, the bike is heavy. So if you're on the budget and you want a good platform to start with that gets a lot of things right, then definitely check out the Marin Nicasio Plus. If you want to see the individual video reviews for all these bikes, be sure to check the playlist somewhere over here. What do you guys think of my list? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, keep the supple side down.